Um, oh, meeting's being recorded. If any of you have questions you want to ask of the two Wix developer advocates we have on the line, Josh and Meredith, feel free to ask them. They know Wix way better than me and Corbett way better than me, and also kind of an interesting look into the insides of the company and kind of how other people have used it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I can play a talk show host.
Hey everyone, I'm Joshua from New York, developer advocate for Corbett by Wix. I also am a Flatiron alumni as well. So I was in Access Labs 2018 and 2019. So really enjoyed my time there.
Hey guys, I'm Meredith Hassett. I am based in San Francisco. So I'm on the West Coast. I have been in developer relations for like 4 years now. Been at Wix since the beginning of this year. Happy to answer any questions about Corbett, or if you want to learn more about developer advocacy like Joshua and I do, we can also answer questions about that. Or California. It's pretty cool.
I feel like is California still are you able to breathe better? I see sun, which is nice.
Yeah, it's actually really nice today. Air quality is much better. The fires are mostly under control.
That's great. That's great. We had a few days in New York City where Anna and I, and Josh, you're in New York as well still?
Yeah, I'm in New York, but I'm in Long Island. So
okay, cool.
A little bit farther away.
And we had a few days where the smoke was here and it was crazy. I mean, like you realize, wait, that's not clouds, that's just smoke from wildfires. That was nuts.
Yeah. I guess it's the way the jet streams are set up that sometimes it gets caught and like gets dragged all the way across the country. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yes. If you guys have any questions, definitely feel free. Also, like just to go on top of what Meredith said as well about just developer advocacy, I think that's another like role in this field that doesn't really get talked about a lot. So it's pretty unique than like being a standard developer. Still developing, just a whole bunch of other things like dealing with people and speaking at conferences and just, getting out there. So there's a whole lot of other things in that side of the role.
I'm going to let silence happen for 30 seconds to see if anyone has any questions, and then I'll start playing talk show host.
So let me know if it's noisy. Someone's doing construction in their backyard, and so every once in a while I'll hear a power saw go off. So just let me know if it's too loud.
Gotcha.
Can't hear anything, so you're good.
I want to know what they're building.
They're fixing something on the outside of our building, and so there's just these two big ropes as they like are strapped to the side of the building outside my window. If no one has any questions, I'll play radio host. Josh, you were saying that agencies have been using Corbett a bunch.
Yeah.
What have they been able to figure out any way to do like repeatable components that they can use from project to project, kind of like their own, like as if you hit add on that left bar?
Yeah. So some agencies do it. Inside of that ad bar, they have there's already hundreds of different UI elements that you can use that you can customize yourself. And you also do have the option to create custom elements with JavaScript as well. So you can also reuse those elements inside your different projects. So it does require a lot more like manual work to code, and it's not coming straight from the ad panel there, and it's just something you build custom.
What does Corvid have any restrictions on, like how long those back-end tasks can run for, and the kind of, I guess, the scale of some of the projects?
Well, I wouldn't say that it has a limit in terms of how long they run for. You do have, also like the ability to add conf jobs as well for different job scheduling of different functions that you create in the back end.
Yeah.
I've even seen some functions that you could run entire year later, just like to send a reminder email to somebody. So I wouldn't say there's a limit in that case.
I guess like there is data limiting where your databases, I think, max out at a certain point. But if it becomes mission critical for your application, we were just talking with the Wix code team yesterday that they have just finished implementing indexing for the databases. So you can actually speed up your databases if you're realizing you have some latency with your databases. But it isn't built out of the box yet, so it is something that you'd have to talk to us internally about setting up for you. But
Right.
hopefully future indexing will be available for everybody.
Right. Are there any other, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, like Corvid also has been around for like less than 2 years as well. So it's a product
It's new.
continuing to grow. And there's, like, as you guys have already seen from using it, that there's already a lot of features that come right out the box. And like Meredith said, that's coming down the line.
And do you all know how long it took them to do that first version? For being a product that's only 2 years old, it's like incredibly full featured.
I'm not sure
what the history of Corvid is.
I'm not sure of the timeline, but it used to, before they got the name Corvid, it used to be called Wix Code, and then changed to the name change. Like, adding entirely new color scheme and a different workspace. But generally it works the same way, just a different name now.
So full featured. I'm impressed it's only 2 years old in its kind of current iteration. What is your all's Corvid development environment? Do you do everything in the browser? I think there's like cool ways you can make it on your local machine, I think, right? Something like that. I don't know. I've seen a bunch of different ways you can like write Corvid besides just kind of the basic in the browser thing. How do you all write Corvid?
I generally stay within the browser in that workspace there. For the local editor right now, that's still in alpha. So the full release hasn't come out yet. But it's still a great thing to use, just because you could still use tools you're used to, like VS Code, and it opens up in like an Electron format. So you could still type your code and keep all your different packages you have installed on VS Code, and use ESLint or anything else that's there. And then they have a remote repository that comes with that as well. But I generally try to keep in the editor, and Meredith might have a different workflow than I do.
No, I'm pretty much always in the editor in the browser, just because I work on so many different sites and I'm lazy, for lack of better words. And so instead of having to set up the environment every single time, I have, I think, 100 active sites right now. So it's just easier for me to keep it all in the browser for my own sanity.
Yeah.
We got a question from Chris asking, what's the best way to submit feature requests? Would I have to be mindful of sending a request about Wix versus sending a request about Corvid?
So basically what kind of happens is normally it's easier to expose it via Corvid than make a new Wix component. So if you want a feature, they might open it up and make it easier to implement it with Corvid. And then eventually down the line, it might become a Wix feature. So you don't really have to be mindful of that. There is a feature request space in our forum. So I'm going to pop the link in the chat here too. So if you do have feature requests, you can send them there. Additionally, you're welcome to reach out to Joshua and I too, because we do present feedback to the Corvid code team on a monthly basis. So we can also, if we're starting to see a lot of the same requests come up from the community too, we can bubble that up even faster. But the forum is a great place to also do that, because you can get the input of the Corvid masters and other Corvid experts.
And the forum, the forum is really active. We have the Corvid masters. We have developers from our R&D team and outreach team on there as well, answering questions and starting conversations. So like, and then we're also on Reddit as well, and you can reach out to us on Twitter. Like, we do give back feedback to our teams pretty consistently. And if there's any type of feature requests, or if there's any other NPM modules you want to install that you want to use, you can also request them through the editor as well.
Oh, does the NPM thing not have all NPM modules?
So there's a big list. There are some that you would have to request but there's a huge list, like probably hundreds of them. The list has grown way more since we've started working with Wix.
Yeah.
Definitely down the line, I can see that they would open it up to having more and more as you see like users asking for certain things.
Right. That's so funny. It never occurred to me. Everything I looked for was in there. I didn't realize that everything else wasn't in there.
For the most part, like the big NPM modules that you'll see people using, like Lodash or anything from AWS or Google, you could use those.
All right, I'll just take Chris's question. Is there any way to create dynamic menus in Wix Core Vid? And the answer is most likely yes, but actually, I don't know if I know that answer.
I feel like you can, because there is the Wix location API, which enables you to navigate your site. So you could create custom menus and dynamic menus that way. The only problem is it's hard to grab. I guess, like, again, you can use the Wix location API to grab the URL stub for the page you want to navigate to. So it is a little janky to do it, but it is feasible. I'm going to also look at the menu API to see.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, you could have like a button that's like a generic button that then you grab the code to change, but I can't think of the right way to change the actual text in that menu, like in the top, whatever like the nav bar is, right?
Yeah, you would have to use, in order to change that content, you actually just go into the settings. So like part of what with Core Vid is, it's a combination of being used to the editor and the menus that are there, and being able to like change those things quickly without having to actually code anything. And then when you need to code the JavaScript, you could just go straight to the IDE and use the functionality that you can find in the API reference.
Yeah, so you probably would have to create like a custom element or a custom style menu, because the menu doesn't actually allow you to grab the properties of like the text values and the navigation elements. But with like Wix location, you can create a hacked, customized version of a dynamic menu. It isn't perfect, but it's kind of doable. But that's a really good feature to request. I can definitely see a lot of use cases for that.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Never occurred to me. I feel like navbar, a place that you can provide some dynamic stuff is in the dropdown for a user account, right? Because I think you're gonna have different, and so that will be dynamic and links into the user account stuff. So like for the app that we built together in the application, I had my bike reservations, and then like my account. So you can do it that way as well, if it's like a thing that you need for that user.
I think you can also do it with dynamic pages, where if you have dynamic pages based off of a data set and you choose to show the parent page in your menu, you can have like a drop-down menu be dynamic based off of the items in your data set. But there's no way to control that beyond like the Wix editor already does it for you. But so if you need anything customizable beyond that, you'd have to kind of do a workaround. Beyond those two use cases, yeah, for my user accounts and dynamic pages.
Got it. Huh. What do you have any good stories of feature requests coming from the community that then got put into place?
Not that I know of. Mostly like when it comes to NPM modules. Like if there's a certain NPM module that we'll have to request, like those can come in. So Like for example, Elasticsearch. That's one thing that wasn't available a few months
Yeah.
ago. But we had a few different users and even people internally asking about Elastic Fetch, and we were actually able to get that npm module to get working like that week. So they
Cool.
work pretty fast when it comes to feature requests, especially if it's like something crucial that a lot of users are looking for. So they try to act pretty fast.
Yeah, and we did have a feedback meeting with the Wix Code executive team yesterday, and some of the features that we presented to them that our users were asking for, they actually do already have on the roadmap. So we've only been in this role for like, I don't even know, what day is it? Like what month is it? September? A few months. So I'm excited to start seeing the impact we do have, because I think Q4 especially, we'll start seeing some things that we've presented to the team rolling out, just because I do need a little bit of time to build it.
Lily asks, is there any way to sync remote SQL databases to fill a dataset collection? Just to give anyone who is not a database person, remote SQL database would mean if they had a MySQL or PostgreSQL database, any sort of like kind of big standard databases outside of the Wix world. How could you synchronize that one outside of the Wix world into the kind of Wix collection world? Is that possible?
Yeah, you actually can integrate third-party databases using we have SBIs as well for doing that, and as well as adapters to integrate MySQL databases, and then also from Google Cloud and Firestore. So you'll use you make sure that you get your secret key from your MySQL database or wherever you have it stored on Google. And as long as you have that secret key in your URL and you use the SPI, you can get ready to go. There's documentation that we have on GitHub and even on our official website as well. And in the API reference, it shows like exactly how to do that. So yeah, if you have within those two adapters of MySQL and Google Cloud, you'll be able to integrate a third-party service, third-party database.
That's a way better solution than I thought. The other one that came to my mind is just having a daily job that hooks into a remote SQL interface and puts it into the Wix data. That's obviously not ideal. Josh is way better, which is why he's here. Thank you. But that was the first thing in my mind. It's like, oh, I should pull it in.
Yeah, so like there's different ways to import data too, right? Like you could use Wix Fetch, which is one another APIs that works just like the JavaScript fetch. So if you have it somewhere, you have a URL and you want to use that endpoint in order to get that data, you could use it, use our data property to load that data somewhere on your page. You can even import and export CSV files, those flat files, to a collection. And then you can also use the adapters that we have as well for for external databases and connecting them that way. So you have like basically 3 different ways of getting data from somewhere else to your website. And then I also posted the SPI in the chat as well. So Lily, you can check that out.
Cool. If you're an agency and you're looking, I'm not sure if you all are the right person, but you're looking to get in contact with, maybe it's a developer relations person to get help on something or whatever, what's the right channels to kind of reach out to you all?
Definitely. So like if you're an agency, you have an account manager.
Okay.
So like the account managers, they'll get in contact with us. And if it's like one of their clients, like everybody has different levels of who they are. So like statuses. So let's say like someone, I think Legend's the top one. They get pretty much the most support. But for the most part, like we try to cater to anyone that has like any of those general corporate questions and know about different capabilities, and like hop on a lot of different calls when it comes with agencies just to help them out, to lead them in the right directions. Because even with these agencies, they have developers already on their team that want to know more about Corvid. And that's the great thing about us. Like when we have our webinars and different workshops that we have, we also like let everybody know about our LinkedIn and Twitter. So even
Yeah.
after those webinars and people watching our videos on YouTube, they reach out to us like on our social media channels that way. So it's like pretty much the easiest way. You know, we'll get a bunch of DMs after something's been posted online. And that's been a really easy way to communicate with us.
If anyone has any questions for Josh or Meredith about not really anything Wix or Corvid, feel free to put it in the chat, or yeah, put it in the chat is probably the easiest way to do it. Have you all built anything for your own personal projects with Corvid? Not everyone has personal projects.
So I actually created a store pretty easily with Wix stores and
Yeah.
the guys we have. So I make music and I sell samples and beats.
Oh,
So
cool.
my own store. So I still run and operate that, and I have like a few different producers that I work with that go and sell their own things on there as well. And like just like general booking things, like I have a family friend that has like a whole venue, so help them build a site there really quickly. So that's the thing, like you could still build like websites with some complex functionality, like with way less time, especially if I already know how to make an e-commerce store or make something for bookings. Like I could just get on the verticals and install them, and then if I want some more custom functionality, I can just go and use the APIs.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm
I know
working
when I
on
saw, go ahead.
sustainability integration or like aggregator, because my mom is really into reducing plastics and reducing carbon footprint and stuff like that, and I've just rubbed off on me, and I'm trying to do the same thing now. So we're trying to create an aggregate site where you can find all sorts of sustainable goods.
Yeah, especially with what's going on right now, like with everything on fire.
Also, like things I didn't realize, like for toilet paper, did you know that like standard toilet paper that you buy in the grocery store, they have to grow and cut down new trees to do that?
Really?
Yeah.
It's not recycled paper.
It cannot be
Yeah, it
recycled.
feels like of all the things that I like don't care about the paper. I guess I care a little bit about the paper quality. Yeah, there's so many crazy things I've seen. There's also like bamboo toilet paper I've seen. It's like all that stuff. It's just fun to see people get creative on, what's the problem and how can I solve it with just not the like sometimes the most straightforward solution.
Yeah.
Great. All right, Chris asks, do you have any advice for exporting filtered data sets to Excel for download? I'll give one to Meredith, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I know you can export your data sets as a CSV. Does it not hold the filters that you already have in place?
I don't think it does.
Okay.
I think it's just a straight, like, here's everything. Oh, maybe not.
There is like a pretty standard out of the box functionality. Oh, you want to do it from the UI? Okay.
Oh, from like Chris, for like a user of your website, or you as the developer? The user. Okay, yeah, the user.
Download. So with like the Wix data, you can apply a filter and like get a filtered data set returned to you. And then I think you would need to use a third-party service to do a file download from like a JSON object to a CSV. I'm sure there's probably something that exists to do that. But like out of the box for users, you'd have to, use the Wix data API to filter the list and get the JSON object with the filtered data set, because it will be filtered when you get it that way, and then find a way to convert it to a file, which I don't think we can create documents. I don't think they're CSV documents though. So, but I'm sure there's a third-party service that does JSON to CSV.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know how in Corvid, how could you make a file available for download rather than just navigation? You know what I mean? I guess if you use a service that will then like give you the link or something like that, then you click on the link.
Yeah, I know there's like a file download component.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, there's one for upload button, and you can also download as well. So they straight from the ad panel.
Because something that we were teaching with other boot camps is you can create like a button with your resume on it. When they click that button, it downloads the file. So there's definitely a way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the elements that we have is a document button. So let's say you had like a PDF or you had like a doc on there you want to download. There's actually buttons there that you can drag and drop onto your page and use that to download different items.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I'm struggling with being able to calculate data sets into totals, like a standing table for a group of individuals. Gone through the aggregate document, but I wish there was more real-world examples of accomplishing this.
Yeah, that's definitely a feedback we're hearing a lot and something I want to work on. So looking at how we can have better conversations about like what you would normally do with SQL and how you would write that with Wix data APIs. Because you have to use the aggregate function and it's not crystal clear on how to do it. So that's definitely something we can work on or we are trying to improve on because that complicated queries is a pain point that we are commonly seeing with users.
And also to go back to the downloading the filtered data as well, right? Like if you go into your database as a collection, I can actually share my screen to show you what that kind of looks like. Let me see here. And can you guys see everything right here?
Yep.
Cool. So like this, this here is, okay, so this here is like a database full of different birds and items here. And might not from the data set, you won't be able to download it, but if you actually go here to the content manager, you can set your filters and sorts for different things. And you can add a new filter. And let's say I want to filter it by the age, and I want to have the ages greater than, let's say, -5, but -1, but 5. I can even go here to this ellipses here. Now I only have these 3 items. I can go here to the ellipses and export the CSV and export the filtered content as well. And then I can download that straight to my computer and I can use that elsewhere. So allow that to download and then there you go. So like,
cool.
Yeah, being able to use the content manager is really cool because you don't have to go manage this through like something like Postgres or even through like an entirely different language that you would have to go support this database through. There's really no surprises there. Like it runs underneath everything is MongoDB as well. So it kind of works like a relational database because you can join different tables together. But everything there is designed so you don't necessarily have to code it.
Cool.
Yeah. And if you guys have more comments like Ed, where you want to see more examples, please share that with us. Because as we've mentioned a few times, we do present feedback to the code team. And it's really helpful for us to hear from you guys about what you want to see more. It doesn't have to be issues or bugs. It just is like, if we need more examples of how to work with this or more documentation on how to work with that, we love hearing that feedback. So please feel free to share anything like that too.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Yeah, I really just am struggling with getting like the the individual standings part down. So I'm able to filter my data sets in certain ways for specific scenarios. But when it comes to like one person having multiple results and then just adding all of them together, that's where I'm really having trouble with displaying that data.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, couldn't you always just do all the stuff in JavaScript where you just pull the whole thing down and then make all the additions in pure JavaScript? Is that always an option?
I could try that. I don't know a whole lot of JavaScript. So like right now, as a workaround, what I'm doing is I'm really just getting it all done in a Google Doc to tabulate everything and then displaying it using like the Google Sheets plugin to make it display nicely. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I guess it would be a wish list item for it to be more natively supported, I guess, then.
That's definitely something we can bring back.
Because I know aggregate only works on one field, and I've run into that issue before where I wanted to work on multiple fields. So definitely interesting to hear.
And there was a
responsiveness.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I see the question about responsiveness. There is a new editor to make this a lot easier. So we have Editor X coming out right now. It's in beta, and it will make responsiveness easier, but responsiveness for the most part is handled from the UI, not the code.
Right, and you can't modify the CSS.
No.
Right.
Can't modify the CSS, but Editor X does have like certain properties in there that work like CSS that you can change from the inspector that's there. So I actually just posted there in the chat some more information on Editor X. There's like different features there, like grid layouting, docking,
Oh, nice.
changing the text and scale, and you can still use Corbett in this editor as well. So you know, you can work with the different breakpoints. So it's really designer oriented. And on top of that, you know, if you're working with a designer and you're a developer, it's a great workspace to work together.
And then there's the question of are we able to upload video files through CSV to database collections? I think I imagine is like through an importer of some sort. I'm not quite sure what that means, to be honest, unless you all have an idea.
I don't believe that you can. And also, when you're uploading video files to the database collections, there is a size limit. I believe it's like 10 megabytes or so for a video. But there's also a Wix video vertical that you could use from the ad panel and actually upload videos with more that take up more space that way. And you can upload a CSV file to the database. Actually, so if you're looking to upload a CSV to the database, you can actually go here to import items. And once you're there, you just click this ellipses next to the new items, import items, choose a file, and then you can upload your CSV. And it'll give you some prompts of how to manage your different fields that you have there. So it's definitely helpful when you have a CSV file that has exactly the same fields that you have listed inside of your database that you have on Corbett.
Can a user upload those CSV files to a database?
A user,
Is Corbett?
A user as in like someone that's using Corbett, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
user from visiting the website.
No visitor.
Not to the. It depends. Like you could have a file, but the file can be accepted. So there's actually a file type that's in the database named file. So they can upload certain files, just depending on the size. But it won't it won't create like an entire database, but you can upload the file itself. Just as long as you change your database permissions to form submission, and you have the appropriate like upload button, you can do that. And actually the data type is called, I'm sorry.
Where do those get stored? Are you guys storing? You guys store them yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a MongoDB running behind all of the sites.
That's cool. Well, yeah. What is like? Do you actually know the tech stack of Wix and Corvid? Like the stuff behind it?
I know that much. I know our database we're running on Mongo. Even though it looks relational in the UI, it is document based.
Man, that must be a giant MongoDB.
Probably.
And they have data centers all around the world as well, so just to make things easier.
Yeah.
Do you know the rest of the tech stack, Joshua? I don't know if I actually do.
To be honest, I don't know the rest of the tech stack. They've used a number of different things. I think I think, like, don't quote me on this, I think they also might be using React for certain things in the front end. Not 100% sure.
They do try to like eat their own dog food too. So if we do have sites with Wix, we do try to make them on Wix as well. But in terms of, like the render engines and stuff like that, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, they call it Wix on Wix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of those sites can be built with like I don't know. Decent number of them should be built on Wix, no big deal.
Yeah, like our Corvid main page is made on Wix. I believe the front page of the website is also made on Wix. So try to keep it in the same ecosystem.
Yeah, like the whole API reference, I think, is built on Wix as well.
Yep.
And that API reference is so good.
Yeah, I like.
Is that you all that write that? Who writes that? It's so good.
Can't take credit for that one.
We have technical writers that do that.
It's like every single thing has like a paragraph, a description of all the params, and example code.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's like for the example code, like just that's there, the code snippets, because even users that we talk to that aren't like the best developers, they can just go on there and copy and paste it and get going. So
Any other questions? We had a few people join and then drop off.
And just also, I guess, to share a little bit more about like what we do, right? So for example, with like the complicated aggregate queries, so I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna try to figure out how to do it myself. So I'm gonna write the code, try to build it. And then if I can figure out how to do it and it doesn't require a feature request, I'm gonna write a blog post about it and share it on social media, or maybe I do a video or something instead, and share that on like YouTube or our different social channels. So that's kind of what we do as developer advocates. We try to figure out problems, and then if we can figure out how to solve them, we like to share that via different media platforms.
and the blog
for Ed, who asked that question, Meredith, what's your I guess, is there a blog he should follow or a Twitter account he should follow to figure it out from you?
If you want to follow me on Twitter, you're more than welcome to. Because if I can figure it out, and if I can, I'll write a blog post on dev.to, and then I will share that on my Twitter. So my Twitter is just mlhassett. I can post a link there. But yeah, so I will definitely, like, if I can figure it out, I'm going to be sharing that on social media.
Great, thank you very much. If you need sample data or anything, I can just export some of the stuff I have as well.
No, your example is perfect that you sent me, so.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Oh, whoops.
Nice.
Let me send that to everybody.
Yeah, blogs are crucial. Like our Flatiron students writing blogs like every week still, just to
Yeah,
keep up.
every week. I think we require 7 blogs, so it ends up being like every other week. But yeah, they write blogs. It's one of the things. Not a lot of things have kind of like kept from day one when we founded the company, but it's one of the last things that's like really been like pretty much exactly the same since day one.
Cool.
Blog presentations, students being not loving it, but being okay with it.
It's definitely helpful for like these kind of roles too, because developer advocacy is really cool because it is an intersection of a lot of different skill sets. And so blogging is definitely one of like the crucial skills that you would be utilizing in our role.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a need for more developers and developer advocacy too. Just like there's a lot of different companies either like now venturing into it. So that's just like one thing that I feel like isn't always talked about in terms of like what kind of jobs are available in your jobs during your job search.
Yeah.
Yeah, people. Cool. I've met a lot of people with really interesting backgrounds in this space too. A lot of them don't have traditional coding backgrounds, like they were a psychologist, English majors, whatever, and went to a boot camp, learned how to code, and they can better understand how to relate to people because they have a very diverse background as well. So it's really helpful in this capacity too, to have that really diverse set of skills.
And you still get the code.
Mm-hmm.
Still get the code, which is nice. And a lot of times I imagine you're coding on, one part that's nice about being in that role is you're coding on little things here and there rather than spending a ton of time on like a giant code base, which requires days to figure out how to add a button. You get it. Hopefully, I imagine the kind of feedback cycle is a bit faster when you're working with small, how do I figure out this aggregate function rather than some giant code base, which is nice.
For sure, especially like when it's a product that's growing all the time and there's always new changes and things going on. Like when there's a new update, then we get to play around with it and see what we feel about it.
Yeah, you're always starting fresh. You're always using the latest version of the product. You don't have to do the last 20%, which normally takes 80% of the time, right?
Yeah.
It's a lazy developer's dream.
Yeah, all that like detail on the edges to make sure, what if they log in, but they've already logged in on a different browser and you just don't have to deal with any of that. It's great.
Yeah, one of my first jobs was that where I came into a project that had been up and running for 4 years, and the code was just like going into a pile of spaghetti and being like, where does that go? Like, what does that do again? And just like you spend a week trying to figure out, okay, so this data point is flowing through all of these different pages, and like where is it getting manipulated and broken? Just super fun. So now I love having fresh code every time.
Did you, what was your path to being in this kind of developer advocate, developer relations role?
Yeah, so I actually was a computer engineering major in college. So I do have like a more classical training, I guess. I then went into technical implementation because I knew I didn't want to be sitting behind a computer and coding all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I worked with clients, was on like customer sites, helping them implement their software. I didn't love that for me. So I decided to pivot out of it. Instead of having like business customers, have developer customers. And that's kind of how I fell into developer relations and haven't left since. I love it. Developers are a much more fun customer.
Yeah, of course.
To me, yeah.
Josh, what were you doing before you went to Flatiron School?
Before I was at Flatiron, actually like very similar to Meredith, I studied computer science and applied math when I was in college. So like I was on the cusp of either like going into, when I graduated, like either into data analytics or actuary science. So I was like either one. So I actually ended up working with New York State for a while, doing data analytics and back-end coding there. Then afterwards, I decided to come back down home, down Long Island, and applied for Flatiron. and did some full stack development there and ended up in developer relations. So yeah. So
I think we have a lot of our grads end up in developer relations. There's a few like famous ones now, like Sarone, who does Code Newbies. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a Flatiron grad. And then Vaidehi, also, who does like all these like little like mini CS blogs, is pretty cool. There's a bunch of people that are doing kind of developer advocate stuff that came from Flatiron.
yeah, I'd actually love to check them out if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Sarone now has like a conference. Like it's a whole thing. She's amazing. Yeah, that's not a developer. I mean, she's done a bunch of stuff, but she's also a Flatiron grad, and
Nice. Just gave her a follow.
nice. Yeah, she's amazing. She actually was a student. Actually, I don't remember when she was. She was a student like a while ago, like 2014. Abdullah asks, is PWA on Wix coming in the soon future? PWA, I think, means Progressive Web Apps. Thoughts on that?
You can kind of make one now, especially like with the traditional editor, with the mobile editor that you have, and then you can kind of just like say if you have let's say like an iPhone, you just saved it to your home screen as well. Like you can use it like that. I'm not sure about what the future is of PWAs. I don't believe that's really the focus. But you know, that's again, like then we have something like Editor X that you can make all these things responsive. So I think that's like more of where the effort is going in that direction.
Progressive Web Apps are cool. I'm excited for them to take over if they ever decide to do that.
Yeah.
All right, we have about 2 minutes left. Any last questions before we wrap it up, or any? I'll open to any last questions, and if not, I'll open up to Josh and Meredith any last things they want to make sure people know before we wrap it up. All right, Josh or Meredith, any last words before we wrap up?
Just, yeah, feel free to reach out to us. I posted my Twitter link, so if you have any additional questions, comments, feedback, we'd love to hear it. Feel free to reach out there, or you can find me on LinkedIn as well at Meredith Hassett. So please feel free to reach out to us. We're always listening and happy to hear from the community.
Yeah. Same here. You can always reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. So I just posted my Twitter in the chat. And just also good luck with your job search. And if you're still like a student, not like a alumni as well, like good luck with the course as well. I don't know how you guys are doing from home. It's definitely not easy. So you guys are rocking it, because it cannot be easy at all. So good luck.
All right. Thank everyone who joined us. We'll send this recording out a bit later, and have a good rest of your week, everyone. Bye.
Have a good week.
Okay.